Oh, good day. Good day and gratitude, family. Good day and gratitude. It is so beautiful outside. I know it's cold out there, though, so I ain't going out there, but I know it is beautiful out there. I got all my blinds up. Let the sun in. Let the sun in. When we get up in the morning, let the sun in, because the sun energizes us. Yes, the sun is our battery. See, the sun is different. We're different, y'all. The sun is our battery. It energizes us. The sun also increases your mitochondrial DNA, your mitochondrial count. The sun energizes, the sun increases it, gives you more. I just remembered that I read it somewhere. I got it somewhere on the wall. And we can tell that. We can tell sometime when we go outside in the summertime, how much energy we got, how much joy. It's like a natural high. It's like a natural high. Now I know other people enjoy being in the sun, namely white America. We see them out in the sun all the time. They enjoy it. They love it too. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone should love nature. Everyone should love being out in the sun. But the sun burn the hell out of them because the sun don't like them like that. Because of what they've done to Black America. What they have done to the manifestation that the cosmos did. The cosmos manifested. That's why. That is why melanated, Black America especially. Now we know our people all over the world are being oppressed. We know they being oppressed. They literally being brought rice that ain't nothing but poison. Might as well eat a bowl of cyanide. Because the rice is so toxic. Bringing them food that's literally killing them. All over this planet. It's a hatred against Black America. We ain't got no choice, Black America, but to know who we are. That's it and that's all. That's the only thing that's going to save us, that's going to help us, to heal us. Because without you, my sister, and without you, my brother, it ain't nothing out here in this world, nowhere. I don't care how far you go. I don't care how much they imitate and pacify you. Make you feel like they done gave you the world in the palm of their hands. They just give it to you. Can't none of that take the place of who we really are, where we really come from. See, that's worth more than anything. We're priceless. We're timeless. Can't nobody ever get that essence because it was manifested. It was manifested. Black people was manifested. The Black man and the Black woman. That was the Big Bang. That was the Big Bang. That's what makes us exceptional. You know how we've been reading about the wars and the troops and the soldiers, and we know all soldiers are brave, but there's this one type of soldier. He's phenomenal. He goes over and beyond bravery, courageousness. It don't even touch the realm of what that type of soldier is. That's how the Black people are. The Black man, the Black woman. Now, we don't doubt over here on Bolden Unchained that the Black man has been indoctrinated, done lost his damn mind, most of them. Black masses, it ain't running slow no more, y'all. You know how molasses is so smooth and thick and it take its time? Black America stampeding. Black America is stampeding and everybody's staring. Everybody's staring. We got to be the ones to steer Black America. We got to be the ones to lead us back to our greatness. I promise you, my sister, my brother, if I could talk to you on the phone, if I could tell you, we don't want to go back to what they want. We don't want to go back to that greatness ever again. We ain't been there, but we've been there. That's where they want to take us. That's their greatness. That's their greatness. I don't know. Everybody ought to be telling us. Hell, some white people ought to be telling us. Y'all know they finna lead y'all back into slavery, don't you? Somebody ought to be telling Black America, because see, we got a hard time because of self-hate. We have a hard time listening to us and just considering what we gonna say, what we got to say, especially if it's a correction. Oh, you might as well take that correction and give it to someone else, because a lot of time, Black America, we so indoctrinated and we so intent. It is our intention to keep white America safe, calm, comfortable, unworried. But it's killing us. It's suffocating us as a people. It's lessening us because we've made white America our priority. We've made white America's culture, which is this. Go on and take the mask off. It's a whole outfit. It's a whole outfit. A setup. Get up. I don't know what you want to call it. But this is what it is. Dress it up. They done dressed it up. They done changed outfits 2 or 3 times. But this is what they are. This is what it is. It can't be denied. I know everybody is feeling some type of way right now. Everybody is feeling some type of way right now. They don't know why Black America is acting like this. Why is Black America talking about they don't want to be with nobody anymore? Why is Black America talking about we finna do for ourselves now? I know everybody wondering why. Why come other people ain't trying to keep the peace? Because we can't. Some of us cannot afford, we can't even sleep at night. We got things going on. We know shit is happening. We know shit is happening. Some of us ain't even paying attention to what's going on, but we feel something. When you come from the cosmos, when you are divinely manifested from the cosmos, it's like the cosmos must have made a planet, and then they made a star, probably a rainbow, and then all of a sudden, boom, they made the Black woman. They made the Black woman right here. Then she gave birth to the Black man. Life began with the parents of all people. It goes right back to that, the parents of all people. It's something that everybody wants. Everybody wants, especially white America. I don't know why white America wants it so bad. Ain't they been telling us? Didn't the Bible tell us to be satisfied with your lot in life? Don't question your master about why he got this, why he got that. So is that also saying don't question your master? I think they took that out the Bible. We will get a Bible to read at some point, but we ain't finna read it right now. We finna read all of this. We finna get to the healing, the hurt, the roots of the hurt. Who the fuck hurt Black America? That's what we doing right here. Now, if you want to stick around and shut the hell up until we get to the Bible, because we won't be using that for no forgiveness. All of our forgiveness goes to our ancestors. All of our forgiveness goes to our people for trusting and believing, for being sincere. We not one time did we think white America was making a fool out of us. Even after our ancestors told us, Malcolm told us, Martin finally told us, the Panthers told us, everybody that I'm taking notes of told us. Well, I got so many notebooks. I need an assistant. But my ancestors ascended. My ancestors gonna give me everything because we finna learn how to heal our people. We finna learn how to heal our people. We gonna do it with these texts. There was a pastor. He's in one of the lives. I didn't even get his name. The ancestors gonna make sure that we make a connection. Because see, our pastors, they're our pastors. Why they making us convincing us, coercing us, swaying us to forgive and forget? Ain't nobody told us not word or whisper. Remember, ain't nobody told us word or whisper about none of the rebellions, none of the greatness, what we was running from. This very well might be the very devil that you think is underground waiting on you. Oh, he running rampant. He sure is running rampant. He's running rampant. Black America stampede, he running right beside him. Just like on that river, when Robert Smalls stole the Confederate ship that they done made him feel that small. And he stole that Confederate ship and escaped, him and the black crew, and got to the Union Army. And the white people, they over there in whatever boat they can get on horses, and they riding alongside them and they shooting. But that's how it is. That's how it is. Black America stampeding throughout, just stampeding. White America right alongside them, they just rampaging, shooting, throwing clubs, rocks, sticks, bricks. You know they beat a black man to death with bricks. Right over there in Chicago. All of this bloodshed. All I'm saying is, where the hell was the transparency? All of these projects, operations, I think they the same thing, but just in case. Projects, operations, events, agendas, bills, acts, codes, compromises, studies, linings. Now we know about the the red lining. What is it? Black codes and red linings. Well, what the rest of them, man? There's so much that's hidden, Black America, because of this. That's why everything is being exposed to us. Now we see, and everybody else, they motherfucking ass see it too. They see the whole world being terrorized and poisoned. But see, they waiting on us to step up on that right there. Because see, at this point, mankind needs to be saved and humanity needs to be saved. So whose side are we on, Black America? Whose side are we on? The cosmos created us. We can't be afraid of after here. We leaving here. Ain't nobody living here on this plane forever. Nobody. Everybody gonna die. White folks gonna die too. Ain't nobody finna live here forever. So why are we afraid? Why are we here? To speak the truth, to acknowledge the truth, to find our healing. The whole extermination thing, the whole genocide, been going on forever. I didn't know my brain was big. I just learned about the big brain. Who was it, Dr. Francis Chris Wilson? Oh, we gonna be learning a lot because you got a big brain too. And somebody better figure out How is Black America gonna get around all this robotic recording? It's really finna be a rock and a hard place now. Can you imagine being restrained by a damn robot dog? I mean, a motherfucking humanoid robot got your ass hemmed up. Ain't no trees no more. Ain't no way to no Underground Railroad, Black America. See, Black America, we in another awakening. I know, honey, all these movies and shit, that meant something. And that's the only way I know how to tell it to you. Black America is in another awakening. Let's get out the way. And you know, I'm Face the Nation. This is Bolden Unchained. We unchaining all of our ancestors. Then, now, and in the future. Because we're going to have to save our future generations, just like our ancestors saved us. Just like the ancestors in these books right here, their main goal was to make sure we didn't go through this. We didn't go through this bullshit. That was all they wanted. They wasn't after the bag. They weren't looking for the big butt. They weren't looking for the glitter and the gold. They was looking for liberation. They was looking for life. Happiness, safety. Just want to be safe. Is it any star? Is it anything in the multiverse that's fearful for its life? The cosmos made that too. Asteroids coming out of nowhere. Because the cosmos is manifesting all of that. Meteorites. The cosmos manifested us. The black man and the black woman. Is that what it is? We got to see. It's like a code. And we got to break it. We got to find out what it is. Yeah, let's just get right to it. The copyright disclaimer under 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. 1976. That must have been when they were like, oh shit, wait a minute now. They done started reading. They have literally started reading. They had the documents to prove by 1976. Look, this was, it just came to me. Maybe it was another such and such like this. I just got here. So if anybody want to clear this up on another day, when we finally talk, because see, I got so much to say. We got so much to say, I know. But was this the very first? Is this when it was decided, oh, we got to put something. Yeah, we got to put something around all of this. But see, and that was true. But see, Black America was still distracted. It was still easy to distract us from this. This right here is just, to make sure. If we is looking, you better look right, So copyright disclaimer under 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So see, we can do this. We can read. We must read. Black America, we must unlearn everything that we have learned and relearn everything. And ain't nothing else we can do. That's why we're here. We wasted enough time on everything else. And I want to say, for us, older, mature, responsible adults, not our young adults, because we know a lot of them is still, they still caught up in the mumble rumble, or whatever they call it, and the trap rap. They still caught up in all of that and stuff. So this is pretty much not for them. But if they mature and they've been listening and they've been watching, then this for them too. This ain't for our hotheads. This ain't for our weakest links. We gotta start. You know how we talking about banning and boycotting all this racist bullshit that white America got, and they don't want us to come in their stores, their restaurants and stuff, and we talking about banning their ass and boycotting their ass. We got to ban rap music. We got to ban all of this excessive, this over addictive lifestyle that we done brought upon ourselves. The music, watching all this motherfucking TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Peppa Pig, hours a day for the babies. We all into the non-bullshit that ain't telling us nothing. I mean, it ain't telling us not a thing. It can't even help us to focus and see something that's literally in front of our face. Because we on there, but we just stampeding. So we got to let our young people, we got to let our weakest links know until they mature and start seeing, until they reach their awakening. That's what it is, an awakening. But for now, what we going to have to do is just say, no, you can't bring that shit up in here. Hell to the fuck no. All of that. Mumble your ass on outside. You can't play it in my car no more. You can't play it in my house no more. You cannot go in your room, shut and lock the door, and turn on all of that bullshit talking about killing black folks, stealing from black folks, robbing, hurting, stabbing, shooting. We got to get that shit out of our houses, out of our cars, out of our homes, out of everywhere, out of our presence. Black America. I mean, my sister and my brother. We got to get all that music out because it's demonic. You know they changed the frequency of music, didn't you? We just talked about in one of the other lives about singing. Singing is a key. Singing is one of our keys. See, when the cosmos manifested us, they gave us so many keys, y'all. We got keys to music, keys to literature, poetry, writing, arts, all of that shebang. The pen and the pencil. That's how we go. That's how we gonna identify that. The pen and the pencil. They gave us the key to that. They gave us the key to athletes, the key to astrology, numerology, biology. They gave us the key to everything. That's why Black people dominate everything. Because the cosmos, when they manifested us, and they manifested Black people here, of course they gave you the keys. Of course, they gave you the keys because you got to get in. Of course. See, of course, Black America, when the cosmos manifested the Black man and the Black woman, they gave us the keys. Now, the Bible did this right here a little bit out. The Bible did say it's going to give us dominion over the animals of the world and stuff. The majestic plants, the majestic pets of the planet. That's what the elephants, the giraffes, the lions, the hippopotamus, all of those majestic, the bears, what is it, the African lion, all of them. They're majestic. And the cosmos, when it put us here and stuff, it gave us the keys to everything. It gave us dominion over them to keep them safe. Just like we got to do with our babies. I know y'all hold on. So they put us here, right? They gave us the keys to everything. That's why we dominate everything. They gave us the keys to everything. I ain't got but 2 keys, but they gave us the keys to everything. That's why we dominate everything. And white America know it. We got the keys to everything. Everything here. We already got the keys to it. But see, that's why they go so hard. That's why white America went so hard. Our Caucasian people, I don't even know what to call them no more. Because see, now we different. We ain't the same. No, we ain't the same. Yeah, we made the same. Hell, that movie, The V, that was out in the 80s with Donovan and Victoria, I forgot the lady now, Diana. And they were turning around people. They was human. But when they got away from around them people, y'all remember that movie? It was a series. They got a new one out now. I don't even like that shit. I like the original. Because the original is telling you what it is. And it's making it where it's interesting too. But when they get around each other and stuff, or maybe when they get mad, hell, I don't know, when they get hungry, they turn to their real self. Hey, don't be mad at me for seeing what I see. Because I'm not the only one that sees what was going on. I didn't even know. Look how thick that book is. Black America. All of this, and this is 1919. This here is the Red Summer. This ain't got, and we might find one or two things about this in this, because this here is just racial violence. It's so many books of what was done to you, Black America. Everybody around here know. Everybody around here know. But the thing about it is ain't nobody told you ain't healed. Ain't nobody told you need to just get the hell away. Get the hell away from white America. Ain't y'all scared they gonna do it again? Why y'all ain't up on y'all P's and Q's? Why y'all ain't on y'all shit, Black America? Why ain't nobody had no sincerity to tell Black America that wig is ugly as fuck? Take it off of your head. And I could have said that nice. I know. I'm sorry, sister. Damn, I'm sorry. Why nobody ain't told Black America the sun sure needs to shine down on you? That sound better. You know, so we'll know. We might figure it out to take it off. Be ourselves. Look at ourselves. Know what's happening. Heal ourselves. Pretty soon we're going to be upset because your wig look better than her wig. All kind of just crazy stuff, just petty stuff. Any petty thing you could think of. Black America own it like white on rice. But this right here, we won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. We will not touch it with a 10-foot pole. Is it because in the days Black America couldn't? We had to sit there and watch our loved ones being whipped. We were made to whip them with them whips. Oh, the ancestor just reminded me. I remember I had a job at I think it was a thrift store. And I literally seen a whip. And I should have kept it. Because somebody bought that motherfucker. Everything, it's not no coincidence. For us, it's not no coincidence. For other people either. Other people have just chose. Other people just chose whose side they on. It's us, Black America, keep nudging our way, trying to get in, trying to get over there, just want to be there. She'll yell at me, cuss at me. She'll slap the hell out of me. We just want to be over there. All that bullshit because we ain't healed. That's why. We ain't healed. And then come think about it, because I'm doing it. Right today, pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, I'm focused on my life, my self-care, my happiness, my self-worth. I think that's how it's been going around. Know your self-worth. In Black America, we doing that about everything, ain't we? Tell the truth. Think about it. Just think about it. Our self-worth, Black America is on it. Yes, honey. Black America is on our self-worth. On everything. We know our worth. Till we got to look at this. Till we got to face this. Then all we. Yeah, that's somebody else's. See. That's somebody else's Because for some reason, we feel like this right here is nothing but loss for us. This gonna cost us our home. This gonna cost us our job. This gonna cost us our friends, our marriages. Because when we sincerely look at this, oh, if we faking the fun, it probably ain't gonna cost you nothing. Oh, yeah, we don't talk about them things. No, we don't bring all that into our home. That's over, that's done. We don't talk about them things. We live life, and we live and let live. We love people, and we everybody here in this family. We got a mixture of everybody here, and ain't nobody told the black family member, let's talk about the healing y'all never got. Let's talk about the healing my brother in this blended family. Because that's what it's called, ain't it? Blended family. That I heard a long time ago. I think, well, that's what we gonna say till we learn different. Because when you know better, you do better. Why come ain't nobody in this blended family done said, hey, family, for all the love, your people didn't never get no healing for what everybody around this table did to y'all. And I think we need to. So what we've done, family, is we went and bought books. No, family, and you sitting right there. No, we don't have to do that. I'm fine. I know who I am. I know where the love is. I know who my family is. And they're like, all right. And that's that. Because we're in a blended family. Everything. Keep us from this right here. Because once it's brought up, we the first ones. No, that's all right. We don't need it. That's all right. Yeah, I'll hurt the hell on it. I'll hurt for life. I'll hurt for the rest of my life. That's all right. We just won't talk about it. It make me wonder, is that why we so, everything's so addicted to us? Everything is so addictive to us. Everything negative is like so addicted to us. Our masses. You can give them anything. You can give them anything. They will run with it. Because we missing that crucial key that white America hid it from us. We missing that key to healing ourselves. They gave us a key to that too. This it right here. It ain't the regular key like the other keys. See, the key to healing that they gave us is like this. The key to healing. They gave us keys. The key to healing, and white America know, is this right here. That's the key. Them the keys they gave us to healing us. White America fine. Seems like they fine, but they really ain't, because they motherfucking ass be no snapped again. And I'm not just saying this just to be saying it. Now, when your dog bites your ass one time, you know he gonna soon bite your ass again. So we don't need to sit here and keep thinking. Because see, Black America, this whole time we've been reading about how Black America is building again. That's what set their ass off the last time. That's what set their ass off the last motherfucking time. Y'all, this riot, this massacre, 1919, happened because white folks was at their limit of how well, how good, how prosperous, how abundant Black America had become. We building again right now, y'all. We trying to build for our people again. It's on a much smaller scale because we at the beginning. But see, Black Wall Streets, they started small too. But in like 20 years, 22 years, they were entire empires. So see, right now, white America, it's okay. It's okay. They ain't even biting their fingernails yet. They just looking, shaking their leg. They just looking, shaking their leg. Because they see us building up again. Because, see, we don't know we're in another awakening. Black America do not know we're in another awakening. Because this generation, and the last one too, because they started just, don't talk about it. Yeah, I'm in love with Darren. Yeah, he's a white boy, but he's different. We just let go of all of this. I'm finna say it again. I'm not damned, y'all. I seen a video, a Chinese man, Japanese man, because I don't know. I ain't learned how to identify each people's yet. I still have a short culture shock sometimes. Yeah, I still have culture shock. So sometimes it's so many people here in America now. But, you know, we live and let live. Long as ain't no harming, I ain't hurt nobody. My mama always used to say, if I can't help you, I won't hurt you. And that's it. But, you know, when I do see other people and stuff, and I can remember a time it wasn't nobody here but black people and white people. And then I started noticing Mexicans, you know, where I'm from, down south. But I come where I'm at now, everybody here. Everybody is here in America. But y'all, what happened was I saw this video. I don't know how long it's been going on. But this man went into this barbershop, Japanese man, an unblack man, an unmelanated man, with his hair. When he came out of that barbershop, y'all, that man's hair was thicker than mine. Looked just like mine. Black America. I don't know who. When they get your numbers down, Black America, I don't know who finna step up and say, I'm black. I don't know who it's gonna be. The white folks, the Japanese folks. Because everybody done stole something. Everybody done stole something from black folks. The theft of melanin. Honey, you don't even know they ain't black till they turn around. You walk up to them, sister. Oh, I thought you were somebody else. Because I know who my sister is. I know who my brother is. See, I don't play that shit. It was one time, y'all, I did get no, I'm gonna leave that alone. Yeah. The ancestors prospered me, y'all. I just put it like that. The ancestors, the cosmos prospered me one day, y'all. Everybody was sisters. Babies were sisters. The brothers were sisters. Everybody was sisters. The babies, the men, and the women. Yeah, I had to stop and just ask some ancestors. Now, what did you try to say with that? But I know who my sisters is. And I know who my brothers is. And some of them ain't you know, they ain't kinfolk. They just skinfolk. They don't want to talk about it. But yeah, I didn't even come on here today to talk. No, I didn't come on here to read. I said I was going to, just rest my voice and stuff. But I think it feels better when I'm talking. You know, maybe I'll just sing after this, get some exercise on it and stuff. Because I still believe it was that motherfucking fog that I drove through. And I believe that because when I got through the fog and got to working, I had to clear my throat quite a bit. And it was like that once, and I let me clear my throat. And it just stuck in my mind that, darn, I'm still clearing my throat. And so when I got home that night, I came live. When I got on my live, and before we started reading, I told y'all, I'm clearing my throat. And, so I don't know what these motherfuckers done did, but it's their ass. And then I get on it's all on YouTube, probably TikTok and everywhere else too. That's probably how stuff is getting to YouTube because it's coming from TikTok. I don't know. I'm a fan of the pen and paper. See, when we as a people, when we ordained to do what the ancestors, because we got a whole spiritual team. Black America. When they tell us something, prosperity, we must do it. Even if it is confronting this, condemning this, exposing it. Hell, they already done exposed it. They the ones put it in a book. And then they said, don't let black people read and stuff, put it in the book. Then they said, oh, they reading eventually, so they had to put this right here up. So if they do read, their ass better do it right, But if you just reading to your family, studying to your babies, your kids, your family, your neighbors that come over and visit, stop letting us come over our house and then want to put on some shit you want to look at. No, you come over here, you're going to look at what I want to look at. You're going to look at what we need to look at. Because I know whose side I'm on. So see, when you come around me, that's my lifestyle. And that goes back to banning all this bullshit. So we, Black Americans, especially us mothers, we got to get our babies back on track. Hell, they with us all day, all night. All night. You wake up at 3:30 in the morning and that baby is standing in the door right there beside your bed. They're not in the bed with you. What you need to do is wake up and start reading. Get him a drink of water and you get a drink of water. Start reading. William Steele, 1821 to 1902, was the 18th child born to a slave mother and an ex-slave father. When he grew up, he devoted much of his time to helping slaves escape on the Underground Railroad. He later wrote a book called The Underground Railroad. And that was William Steele. It told the story of how he helped 649 slaves escape to freedom. He helped them get to freedom so they can be free. They can live a life, be happy, be safe, get a family, find you a beautiful, strong, black woman that loves you, cares for you, she appreciates you, get an education, build you a business, an empire. He helped them do that for black people. One day, while working on the Underground Railroad, something very interesting happened as he talked with an escaped slave. He discovered that the escaped slave was his own younger brother who had been sold into slavery when he was a baby. Just start reading to him. Don't read this, but read about our heroes. Because they with us, sister, every day, all day. You know while you're cooking, they finna come in there. Go on and give them the spoon. Tell them what to do. And go on and read. Go on and read. You got 2 books. There's some in between too. As you go from easy to difficult to challenging and whatever we find after this, y'all already know it's going to be motherfucking outrage. So you decide which one but we got to start, sister. We got to start. We can't wait for someone else to just magically give us the key to our healing because we ain't going to never get it. We ain't going to never get it. We're going to have to heal us as a people. And them is just, I do got some other solutions too, some other suggestions for us as a people. Because in my opinion, everything got to be changed. We got to change our whole lifestyle, the way we eat too. We got to change the way we eat. Yeah, we can't keep eating like white folks eat. White America, white folks, white people. We can't keep eating like them. No, I was at a restaurant one day, and a man was upset at his wife because she was going to town. She had every piece of meat that was on her plate. Every piece of meat was totally different. One on top of the other. One on top of the other. Some around the side and stuff. I don't know. Might have been a piece on top. Just throw a piece on top of it. It's just hanging off like that right there. And he was telling her that is too much. He was telling her, oh, honey, she got mad about it. And I just said that little bit to say this. We got to monitor the way we eat. We got to change the way we even eat. These folks, I understand we used to have to eat like that. We had to eat shitlings. We had to take scraps and make it, edible. But did all them onions and potatoes, did it take the toxins out of the shitlings or just the smell? Well, once I found out what it was, I stopped eating it anyway. So, but I just be wondering shit now. I just be thinking now. Because ain't none of this right for Black America. Everybody done steered us to this point right here. And look at us, we doing everything like white America do. Everybody in the world got white men mindset. The white man's mindset, everybody in the world got it. He still got it, but he done put his on the ground. Remember when Kentucky, that book the one we just finished reading, Racial Violence in Kentucky, 1865 to 1940. It was in one of those chapters we read, and Kentucky told white America, we got to clean up our savagery. And that's putting it nicely. So yeah, even today, especially today, the white man he remembered that. And then, white people didn't want to do it. White people was fucking pissed. How the fuck you gonna tell us we can't drag this black body through this whole motherfucking town, and we've been doing it? But white people, they got them to stop doing it. The authorities and stuff. They got white America to stop doing that shit. Stop butchering in public. Stop being so ravenous in public. White America said, all right, well, you better capture and convict their ass just like that. And you better hang them so we can see. And they did it for a while. Then they said, but white folk were still throwing 10,000, 20,000. Because of the media motherfucking ass telling them. Gonna be a lynching in 5 days. Hunt for a Negro. We'll get into all that because, I forgot. Wasn't going to be talking so much and stuff because we got videos to watch. But I got to get this part out right here. I just want to say everybody got white men's mentality. When Kentucky told white America, white people, that they had to stop being openly ravenous, and they put their clanimal instinct, because they all was the Klan. That's what they said. They the ones said they was the Ku Klux Klan, and then got all these other sub-clans. We'll talk about that because there's a lot of them. I didn't even know, but it's a lot of them. So that's what's happening today. Everybody got the mindset, and most people's mindset is out there. They're not underground, but see, the white man, he do his stuff underground. Because that's how Kentucky changed it when they did that. When Kentucky did that, that's when the white man, because his ass was the one doing it. Now, I don't know if the white woman was the one that was at home and that taught them little white babies this. I don't know how it started. Who got the first thought to do these things? Because they ain't told us. We ain't thought about it. I will be thinking about it. You should too. So see, now everybody with this mindset just fucked up. Crazy as hell. Anti-life. Everybody anti-life. But him, he come around as the savior, honey. This the motherfucking savior. Don't you say nothing about Mr. Jerry. Don't you say a word about Mr. Jerry. Where he come through here with all these fruits and vegetables, and bringing the kids and the children, having them all together, playing with them, bringing them bubbles and little dolls and little toy trucks. You keep Mr. Jerry out your mouth. Because we don't know Mr. Jerry motherfucking ass. He was one of the motherfuckers, him and all of his old ass friends. They was the ones driving the damn trucks. They was the ones grabbing the rope, lynching the rope, yanking on it. 2 or 3 of them at one time. He's kind of heavy. If white America had not been stopped from butchering us, they'd have been hanging our asses 2 at a time. Because it wouldn't have been ropes. See, we got to think. It wouldn't have been ropes. Not for 2 men. It would have been the chains. They would have been hoisting with the chains. See, that's what our asses get. For letting everybody and their motherfucking mama act like they are friends. Act like they really want to help us. Act like everybody is the same. Everything is equal. Everybody got a key. Everybody got our keys. We sick. Collectively, we sick. We ain't got no village. We ain't got no unity. Black America, we're in another awakening. We are this close from being in another captivity. Another captivity. Will it make it better for you? Is that what it is? It's going to make it better for you because it might be a few other people in there with you. It might be a few other people in there with you. It might be a John Brown somewhere. And Black America gonna be like, well, damn, where this white boy come from? Who is this? Is that what's gonna make it worth it? To go through even a little bit, even a page, 1 page. Is that what's gonna make it worth it? To go through even 1 page of that horror right there on that page. What's on that page right there, y'all? It might make all of our motherfucking ass just cry. Throw the goddamn computer out the window. Everybody need to be going. When we get done talking here, everybody, you go to your bookshelf, you throw every goddamn Harlequin romance, Zane, every book, cassette you got over there that's distractive. You throw that shit out and you go get you something to replace it with. It ain't got to be no real big like that. It ain't got to be the torture like this that our ancestors endured. But go get you something. We got to start replacing this shit. We sure do, honey. Motherfuckers got us fucked up. Shit, don't sit there all this time. I feel like, hell, y'all motherfuckers been lying to me. Hell, why ain't nobody told me? Hell, we know I would have done something. Ain't nobody said a motherfucking word. Not a word or a whisper. Oh, let me explain what this is right here. We started some of this the other day. Dr. George DeGRUY, post-traumatic slave disorder. Everybody, all of us need healing. See, I'm late. I'm the last one of the last ones here because I know whose side I'm on. But I'm the last one here. I'm not the first one to do this. We've been doing it. Black people have finally started telling our stories. Because, see, at first, it was just white folks telling what happened to us, documenting our stories, the tortures. Initially, it was because they knew we weren't going to read. But then along the way, all of that had to touch somebody's heart, I mean, that's just life. All of them, it's true. All of them cannot just run to this, just embrace this. It had to be some of their asses that had a little bit, just a little bit of John Brown in them. And that was for their mercy. That was so the cosmos would bestow mercy on them. They turned their back on changing that instinct about themselves. See, we didn't have nothing to do with that. So what? They didn't know what it really was. Oh, we didn't know John Brown them was really trying to change us for the better so that, we can prosper life. We didn't know they was doing that so that we would have an opportunity for eternity to live, and not be damned to hell. We thought they were just nigger lovers. But that's their fault. That is white America's fault. That's not our problem because it's out of our hands. It is out of our hands. At this point, we can't be concerned about, is white America going to heal from this? Did white America heal from this? We need to heal from this. I still feel like hell. Why ain't nobody told us? Like they should have been telling us. So yeah, we finna watch Dr. Joy DeGRUY, post-traumatic slave disorder. I just heard about it too, not too long ago. So let's do this.
There's a kind of a fundamental basis for post-traumatic slave syndrome. How many of you are familiar with post-traumatic stress disorder? Okay, so these are things, I mean, most of you are people who are in the field that have done the work. You're here representing the people who are really in the trenches, and I appreciate and respect that. The theory very often, when people hear it, post-traumatic slave syndrome, I try to kind of get at kind of what's going on in the room. There's ambivalence, there's feelings of, what? Come on now. What are we saying now about the slavery thing? It's over. It's get over it. We're done. We have that kind of feeling. And how possibly is she drawing a connection between something that happened so long ago in contemporary society? Come on, are you trying to find an excuse? Are you trying to blame people? These are the natural kind of knee-jerk reactions to hearing the term post-traumatic slave syndrome. However, I would submit to you that it's based on research. So I did about 6 years of research specifically looking at violence. My area of focus is violence, and I'll cover that in my PowerPoint. Also, some of you may not be able to see points of the PowerPoint, but we're going to make it available to you. So you don't have to worry about it. There's a website where you'll be able to download my PowerPoint. Isn't that correct? Did I say that right? Okay, so that part you don't have to worry about. But I kind of want to set the ground so that we can all advance and move forward together. Now, the reason I do that and the reason why I began that way is because there's an assumption, a fundamental assumption in a room this size with people very well educated, people very well exposed, that we're all entering this discussion at the same level. And we are not. I can guarantee you we are not. We all have our ideas and our beliefs, and then we all have our experience. For example, the people of color that are in the room, all the people of color that are in this room are arriving in this room at a different level because they have lived in this skin. And we're rarely given any kind of appreciation or understanding of what you have to live with walking through the world with this skin. So you kind of come in at a different level of awareness about the discussion. And then you have folks that come into this discussion that are educated around it, that are clear about it, but can't really empathize their way through it. In other words, it's not a feeling thing, it's a cerebral thing. So some people stay intellectual because that's a level of comfort. Nothing wrong with that. But very different from the person who lives in the skin. It is personal and it is emotional. Okay, so all of that's going on in this room even before we get started. But as people commit it, it may get a bit uncomfortable. But that's okay, because it's been uncomfortable living in this skin. It's been uncomfortable. And we have to learn how to deal with that discomfort and stay in the room. So when we look at the fundamental premise of trauma, and we understand the nature of trauma, we know that there have been other groups that we've looked at the etiology of contemporary behavior based on multi-generational trauma. One group, Jewish Holocaust, families of Jewish Holocaust, and the fact that the Jewish community is very, very clear about honoring that Holocaust. So much so that Spielberg will probably make another movie. And I'm not mad at him, because what he's doing is ensuring that the generations that come will never forget the Holocaust and its impact upon Jewish people. You'll look at folks throughout the world, even Aboriginal folks in the United States, where more focus is being done on what colonialism has done. We've looked at Japanese internment. We've looked at Australian Aboriginal folks. We've looked at multi-generational impact of trauma on people who have had tragedies like the tsunami victims. We'll look at everybody, but when it comes to looking at a response, oh, come on, let's not, why are you? And it's a curious thing as a social scientist to me, that you get so much pushback when you talk about Africa. And we look at the legacy of slavery. You get so much pushback, but more importantly is, why do you get the pushback? See, as a social scientist, I'm less concerned with behavior. Why is there such reticence at looking at this issue? And the answer is, when you peel back the layers of this, we peel back everybody's layers. Also very comfortable to talk about the other's pathology. And the reason why I think that becomes important is so that when we begin to engage in this discussion, we don't find ourselves falling victim to the fear, guilt, all of that stuff that's not useful to anyone. It's not useful. This means we're going to peel the layers back. And while 246 years, as it were, in American history of American chattel slavery, starting with 1619 to the ratification of the 13th Amendment in the United States, we're looking at 246 years of American chattel slavery. And it's very comfortable. And I think to some degree, people can say, you can't have 246 years of trauma and expect that nothing happened, especially when that trauma was followed by more trauma, especially given the fact that there was never a point of healing. Not difficult to do the math here. This is not deep and philosophical. It really makes sense. But you know what else is true? You can't have 246 years of folks engaged in a traumatic experience that were white that went unaffected. That means everybody has been affected and infected by this thing. So that's the part that gets uncomfortable, because it's usually okay to look at the other. We're going to look at everybody. This is going to be one where we really show the elephant in the room, and only for the purposes of recognizing that unless we do so, none of us can heal. This is not a process that any of us can do individually by ourselves. This is a collective process. And so therefore, we're all going to be engaged. And it's not just a pointing of fingers at anyone. It's recognizing that you and I, all of us, have been impacted by historical multi-generational trauma. Now, let's look at it very specifically. When we look at trauma in its very, clinical sense, my background, clinical psychology, understanding what trauma is, people can experience a single trauma, one trauma, indirectly, meaning that they didn't have to be present for the direct trauma. Meaning, say, for example, you all heard about 9/11 and taking down the buildings in New York, right? Yes? 9/11. Everybody in the world got told about that. Matter of fact, I think everybody in America got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of that. But I would submit to you, we were traumatized long before that. But there were individuals that were at ground zero, and I know them. My niece was in one of the buildings. So she decided while she was in one of the buildings, they kept telling her, just stay where you are. They kept saying, stay where you are. We think people should stay where they are. She said, and everything in her mind said, get out. So she got out. Matter of fact, she leapt over the security guard to get out of the building. And it's a good thing she did. But during that time, there were people at ground zero, for example, like my niece. And there were people who watched it on television. And then there were people in other countries who heard about it. So there are varying levels of understanding around this trauma that happened in the United States. There were people at ground zero, were there, saw folks falling out the sky, got videotape footage of it, watched it on television, invited folks over and drank beer. Not traumatized. No trauma. There were people maybe in another country, in Brazil, saw it on television, in psychotherapy right now, can't get on planes, on medication, and people talk softly to them twice a week. So the variance in terms of those who are traumatized by a traumatic event and those who are not, we're unique as individuals. Everybody's not traumatized by a traumatic event, whether it's direct or not. But when we start talking about chattel slavery, we're not talking about one trauma. We're not talking about a specific event. We're talking about generations of trauma with no intervention. Based on what I know about sugar plantations, tobacco, and the Caribbean, what I know about American chattel slavery and the plantations there, does anyone right now ever recall mental health assistance to slaves? Anybody remember sending in the therapist after I sold off your son, daughter, raped folks? At any point? Never. Second question. After slavery was officially over, now you're free. Anybody remember any therapy then? We know it's been rough, it's been deep for you, it's been difficult. We're gonna do a little group therapy. Anybody remember that? That would be no. Number 3, after slavery officially ended, both in the States, in the Caribbean, the British ended, do you remember whether or not trauma continued? Did the trauma continue for people of African descent? I need to know. Okay, so now let's do the math. Hundreds of years of trauma, no treatment. Freed, more trauma, no treatment. What do you do the math? Do you think there may be residual impacts of that trauma? Of course there is. It didn't end, friends, and it hasn't ended yet. So I think on one point, African people and people of African descent are extremely resilient. Matter of fact, I think we're a miracle. Far be it for us to pathologize or to look and cast this idea of weak and sick people. Oh, on the contrary, I'm profoundly resilient because we've done everything we've done thus far with no help, with not even the ability to have this discussion. As though it were possible, we escaped injury in all those hundreds of years and the years that follow. So this kind of journey I'm going to take you on is going to be one that really gives a perspective on what this trauma was, what it looks like, and clinically, what is post-traumatic stress disorder? What does it look like? Now, let me give you a little snapshot. We'll get into it in more depth a little later. But post-traumatic stress disorder, if in fact you are diagnosed with that, again, remember, direct or indirect trauma, here are some of the symptoms. A feeling of foreshortened future. Now, what does that mean? A feeling, well, you're not going to live long. How many of you are running into young people that don't believe they're going to make it past their 20s? Feeling of foreshortened future, exaggerated startle response, outbursts of anger, difficulty falling or staying asleep, hypervigilance, right? These are symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. This is like DSM stuff, Diagnostic Statistical Manual Mental Disorders. It's in there. And there's a whole listing of all these symptoms. Now I want to roll it back so you can understand what the transmission theory is, because I'm going to talk about transmission. So how does a person that's been traumatized by post-traumatic, literally has a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, and can we, if we are logical and we are reasonable people, assume that a fair number of Africans had to have had post-traumatic stress disorder? You think? I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about them. Untreated though, right? Okay, so now let's do the math. Mom who saw dad sold or sister raped has post-traumatic stress disorder. Still mom though, right? Only mom now has outbursts of anger, feeling of foreshortened future, difficulty falling or staying asleep, hypervigilance. That would be mom. Now, Johnny or Mary or Shaquisha did not have the original trauma, but what are they learning? This is called social learning theory. What am I normalizing? Exaggerated startle response, outbursts of anger. Are you following me? So I didn't have to be traumatized. Now, the other thing is, do you think Johnny and Mary got traumatized too? Do you see? So what happens in your environment, you learn from the significant others in your environment. And if they're broken, guess what you're going to be? You're learning from broken people. And you're normalizing that behavior. And then it becomes, years later, 2008, that's their culture. That's just the way they are. That's their culture. So there's poison in the cookies, right? But how are you going to tease out that poison? That means you have to look at the etiology of the behavior, which is what I spent many years doing. And it's not rocket science. This is not deep. Like I said, this is not required that, someone has, it's just common sense. How many of you in the room think you can cook? Come on now. I know it's a strange place. You all have the oddest food in the world. I'm trying to tell you that now. Those of you that know how to cook, who taught you how to cook? Mom, dad, family. Who you think taught them? Hello, social learning theory. You learn from those in your environment. And if they couldn't cook, likelihood is you can't either. Okay. So there's things that we don't question them. This is what goes in the curry. What are you talking about? This is how you make curry. Well, how you know? Because that's the way my mother made it. Well, maybe, she didn't get the recipe right. Actually, I wrote Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, the book, which is here. The book is called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, America's Legacy of Enduring Injury and Healing. I recently have written a study guide, which is being edited now. But the reason why I wrote the book is really to put a name to what I was looking at. I started to look at behaviors in African people and people of African descent. A long time, people ask me all the time. I just was interviewed by ABC, and they wanted to know, where did this come from? It came from growing up Black. No, there's nothing deep there. I grew up looking at Black folks and wondering why we behaved the way we did. Very little had to do with white people. Very little. I was looking at Black people, and I wanted to understand our behavior. I am 50 years old, and I remember looking at people who were, growing up in South Central Los Angeles. That's where I grew up. My parents are from the South, from Louisiana, and from Belize. And one of the things that I started to notice are certain behaviors that Black people engaged in that I started realizing, not just African Americans, African Caribbean people. I came here, heard the same thing, behaviors around what we look like. Like, for example, I would hear people, and most people here, white or Black or wherever you are in the spectrum, you've seen the behavior and wondered about it. And I know you have, because I wondered about it. Well, you have Black people that aren't Black. How many people have met Black people that actually aren't Black? Now, this is an interesting phenomenon. These are Black people that will tell you before, first of all, they certainly look Black to me. They look Black, but they don't say they're Black. I've got quite a bit of Indian in me. Did I mention that a lot of my family are from, all of a sudden there's something else, right? And you're looking going, sure could have fooled me. You look Black to me. Right? Now, this would be something that I could ignore if it stopped when I was a child in South Central, but it didn't. You could hear it in rap music today. Same behavior. Matter of fact, the rap videos, that they just need to clone the same girl, right? I could draw her right now. What she looks like, the little wavy hair, and she's black, but not too black. Okay. And what is that about? What is its etiology and why does it persist? That means that it's an intracultural phenomenon that's being passed along through generations. But why? What is this self-loathing that I see in contemporary Black folks? I'm not going back to slavery. I'm talking about today, who hate and despise the reflection in the mirror. That's what I wanted to know. So that's what led me on my journey, if you will. Again, not an unusual journey. Of course, I'm going to kind of pop back and forth through British history and American history. James Madison was a very important figure in American history, president of the United States, 1751 to 1836. He said, Blacks are inhabitants, but as debased by servitude below the equal level of free inhabitants, which regards the slave as divested of 2/5 of the man. This is called the 3/5 compromise. And what they were trying to figure out is, what are we going to do? How are we going to count these Black folks? Because, based on how many people you have residing in a particular state, the more representatives you can send to the House of Representatives, and thus the more power that particular state can wield. So the question was, how do you count the slaves? Well, Southerners, who of course enjoyed slavery, they wanted to count them. They said, yeah, count them. That gives us more power. Where the Northerners saw it as an opportunity to abolish slavery, said, well, you can't count them because you don't consider them human. How can you count people who have absolutely no freedom that you do not count or treat as human beings? So the agreed upon solution is to count 3/5 of a state's total slave population. And so as a result, they became 3/5 of a man, divested of that. But it's almost as though you're not talking about a human being anymore. And that's what's scary about this. And I always start my talks by saying that when you see folks dressed up like this, and I know you all see a lot of them, you should get worried. I always get concerned when I see them dressed up like that, like this guy here. This next guy was someone that I struggled with. You all know him, Richard Oswald. He's the son of a Presbyterian minister, international trader of enslaved Africans. What's so deep about this gentleman is how wealthy he became as a result. He would be worth, based on the 1700s, right now, he would be worth 68. Based on the number of slaves, the slave trade, and colonies, ships, all the stuff that he basically utilized. But again, these folks are held in high regard. When I read about him in your history, you would never know. Google him. You'd never know the ugly trade that he was engaged in because we've sanitized it, you see. It all got kind of sanitized. But what's important is to understand the wealth amassed. And see, this is where people get afraid, particularly Europeans. This is where the whole, oh my God, dare I say the big ugly word, most folks are afraid of, because we don't really care too much about the healing stuff. Go on and get better, you people. But don't try to touch the resources. That would be reparations. We don't want to have that conversation. We're okay if you all go heal, however you're going to do that. But let's not talk about the reparations story. But when you start looking at the wealth amassed, and then you got to look at the Church of England. It gets real ugly, because then you start realizing what is a foundation for the Church of England. Folks that bless the slave ships. And then, of course, and this is interesting about John Newton, because we all know about, the first thing you hear, John Newton, what's the next thing you hear? Amazing Grace. John Newton Amazing grace. Well, let's figure out what happened before he got amazing grace. He said slaves are lesser creatures without Christian souls and thus are not destined for the next world. Now, what becomes important about this kind, and you'll see it both in American history as well, there is this kind of dehumanization of African people. Because you got to ask yourself this question: how do people who deem themselves superior, who see themselves as the civilizers, who recognize themselves as what we call manifest destiny, the white man's burden of civilizing all the rest of the races, how do you reconcile being the superior being and engaging in barbaric behavior? What that produces is something called cognitive dissonance. How many people are familiar with that? Cognitive dissonance is really thinking discord. It's when you begin to feel conflict between what you believe or understand or hold to be true, and you are then faced with behaviors, either in yourself or others, that conflict with your fundamental belief. It produces cognitive dissonance. Human beings don't function well with cognitive dissonance. You must remove the cognitive dissonance in order to function. So in order for people to perpetuate slavery and to perpetuate that whole system that lasts for centuries, you had to remove all dissonance associated with it. Can't be anything wrong with me. Certainly isn't us. We're the civilizers. We're the superior. So it must be them. Oh, yes. Well, you see, they don't even have souls. Now I can go to sleep because I'm not really dealing with the human being. Are you following me? Okay, let's see what else he said. He said, when the women and girls are taken on board a ship, naked, trembling, terrified, they are often exposed to the wanton rudeness of white savages. Oh. The prey is divided upon the spot. Look at the choice of words, the prey. Resistance or refusal would be utterly in vain. And then he says, I sinned with a high hand. Yeah, and then he wrote Amazing Grace. Okay. So it's really important to understand that hand in hand with the behavior was a mindset that is so damaging. You see, I call it the secret. Not the secret that everybody's been talking about, that secret. This secret is the kind that makes you sick. How many people here are in mental health, have done direct mental health treatment with folks? If you don't, you know that the secrets make us sick, yes? Isn't it the secrets that cause people the pathology? Right? How long have white people had to hold this secret? How long and how many generations had to stop and pretend grandpa didn't do what he did? That the wealth we enjoy was not on the backs of some of these little girls. Think about how long one had to keep that secret. And the only thing you could do is either pathologize the other. It's all their fault because it certainly wasn't great granddad. Look how well he dresses. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when I say that this pathology goes hand in hand, I kid you not. Then you have science. And whenever we are in a process of trying to legitimize things, it's so amazing. You know, people always say this to me, even Black people, when they hear about post-traumatic, because you know it's not correct unless you can count it and measure it, right? Science is the final. It is the number one. If you can say it's scientific, then you basically trump everything else, right? Science determines reality. So if we can scientifically assert a thing to be true, then in fact it is true because it's scientifically proven. It's a scientific fact. Matter of fact, that's what people will tell you when you try to say to them, I don't know if I agree with you. You know, it's scientific. It's a scientific fact, what I'm saying here, right? Which somehow makes it what? True. And it's also in a book. Now let's do the math. It's in a book and it's scientifically proven. Did anybody here realize that recently we lost a planet? Anybody know what planet we lost? How you lose a planet? You know, I became fond of the little picture with we lost a planet. We didn't lose a planet. You know what it means? Science was wrong. Now, have they ever said, you know, we were wrong about that planet thing? No. It's called a paradigm shift. So let's go to science. And I think it's important that we do, So we go to someone named Carl von Linnaeus. Now, Carl von Linnaeus becomes an important character in this whole conspiracy of silence and legitimacy and removing the dissonance. Carl von Linnaeus developed a system based on a criterion of skin color and laid the basis for 19th century racial classification. Linnaeus properly began the science of anthropology. So here we have the father of anthropology. Although color classification of races dated back to the ancient Egyptians, anthropologists refer to Linnaeus's Systema Naturae of 1735 as the first modern study of man. While Linnaeus advanced classification with his use of a color criterion, he also fixed on his 4 families of man certain moral and intellectual peculiarities that continued into the 19th century anthropological vocabulary. He described Homo Americanus. Who might that be? That would be Native American, American Indians. Homo Americanus. And what did he say about them? He said they were reddish, choleric, obstinate, contented, and regulated by custom. Homo Europaeus, as white, fickle, sanguine, blue-eyed, gentle, and governed by laws. Homo Asiaticus, that'd be Asians, as sallow, grave, dignified, avaricious, and ruled by opinions. And Homo Afer, as black, phlegmatic, cunning, lazy, lustful, careless, and governed by caprice. These insights into what Linnaeus defined as racial character, personality traits, behavior, intelligence, language, and a host of other related categories were transmitted into subsequent attempts at a science of classification and became more fixed than the races themselves. Not a shred of science here. But it is in a book. And it's touted as science. And what's more important, my students, I teach graduate students in social work. In 1978, we are, right? After all. But do you not hear these same attributions today? Those blacks, they're lazy, all of the exact same, am I telling the truth? In your newspapers, in your accounts of them, do you not hear these very same things? So does it matter that it started in 1707 and 1778 and has no scientific merit? That's multi-generational, is it not? It's being passed along. Part of the swallowing into the social gullet. Those are the beliefs, you see. So it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. And thank you, Carl von Linnaeus. Again, he's removing the cognitive what? Don't they deserve to be treated the way we treat them? Have we not just justified what we've done? After all, I just told you this is who they are. We're not wrong. We're just trying to keep the domestic tranquility. Makes sense. I'm having a clicker thing. There we go. Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. Just look at him. He's not right. We could tell already. But he had to contribute his part as well. He says, now this man, Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, he was an individual. How many of you are familiar with the term Caucasian? Oh, yes. Then you know Johann. He would designate 5 races or varieties of man in the second edition of his work on the natural variety of mankind. His division into Caucasian, Mongolian, American, Ethiopian, and Malayan races, with the added Carl von Linnaeus descriptive peculiarities, became the subsequent basis of most 19th century anthropomedical studies. While Carl von Linnaeus founded his system principally upon skin color, Blumenbach considered a combination of color, hair, skull, and facial characteristics as fundamental means for classifying the 5 varieties of man. Central to his study was the Caucasian, a term which he originated. He took the name Caucasian, listen, for the science, from Mount Caucasus because its southern slope had cradled what he felt to be the most beautiful race of men, the Georgian. The Caucasus near Mount Ararat, upon which the biblical ark came to rest after the flood, seemed the appropriate source for the original race of man. No science yet. Now I'm going to quote him. These are his words. For in the first place, the stock displays, as we have seen, the most beautiful form of the skull, from which is a mean and primeval type. The others diverge by most easy gradations on both sides to two ultimate extremes. That is, on the one side, the Mongolian, on the other, the Ethiopian. Besides, it is white in color. Anybody here ever met a skull that wasn't? Besides, it is white in color, which we may fairly assume to have been the primitive color of mankind. Zippity-doo-dah, no science, nothing to found this whole thing. He figured white skull, humanity began white. It's scary, but it's in a book, and it's touted as science, and we swallowed it without question. But race is a concept of society that insists there is genetic significance behind human variations in skin color that transcends outward appearance. However, race has no scientific merit outside of sociological classifications. There are no significant genetic variations within the human species to justify the division of races. Mankind is one. We are one humanity. Isn't it a shame that we are still debating that in 2008? But the reason why we continue to debate it is we still try to reconcile the ugly stuff that we've never dealt with. We still want to say they deserved it, so no one has to feel bad about all of those little babies dying and ignoring the ravages of Africa and killing young Black males and urban cities, and disproportionate imprisonment and disproportionate disparities in health. Oh, it must be their fault. How do you reconcile it? You see, rather than deal with it, we just continue to try to justify the behavior. Thomas Jefferson, you all know him? Yes, he's one of my favorite people, actually. I close out my book with a soliloquy from Thomas Jefferson. I actually end my book with it. Because Thomas Jefferson made a statement. Here's a man highly regarded in the United States. I mean, there are more statues of him than probably anybody. And he made a statement towards the end of his life. He says, "Indeed, I tremble for my country when I consider that God is just and that his justice cannot sleep forever." You see, it haunted him to his grave because Thomas Jefferson knew. He knew what would happen. Matter of fact, he predicted exactly what we're dealing with today, what happened between people of African descent and those of European descent. Predicted it. He was a bright man. How do you reconcile behaving in such a barbaric way? Well, let's see what he said. He said Blacks smelled bad and were physically unattractive. Well, this was inconsistent with his behavior because, you know, he fathered slaves, Sally Hemings. So it didn't smell that bad, huh? Now, here's a more important one. He said we required less sleep. Now, that one's more interesting to me. Why would he need to? What dissonance was he feeling that he would need to believe that Blacks required less sleep? Why? What did he do? You know, he owned slaves. So what do you think? How hard do you think he worked them? What was the work day for a slave? Sunrise to sunset. But do you have any empirical evidence, Joy? Can you prove that? Because you know, if you can't write, count it and measure it, it didn't happen in European culture. Is that correct? You got to count and measure it. How many of you have measurable objectives? Measurable outcomes, you better measure it. I don't care if you tell them. Can you tell your boss really, truly, at the end of the year, we're doing better now? I've been to work every single day. I've watched, and I can guarantee you we're doing better. Is that going to fly? That would be no. That means you have to count it and measure it. And if you didn't count and measure, it didn't happen. So when you start looking at the notion of requiring less sleep, that's an interesting thing, because I have to believe if I work you that hard. And boy, I got humbled when I found out how hard folks worked in the sugar plantations. Ooh wee, I got humbled by how hard folks in the Caribbean were worked. But what I decided to do is I looked at the Library of Congress. Most of my work over the 9 years that it took to write the book, 6 years of that was research. The other part of it had to do with doing interviews of elders and reading slave narratives. And there are thousands of them. This is just one taken from the Library of Congress. Sarah Gudger from North Carolina wrote, "Never known nothing but work, never knew rest, felt like my back was going to break. This the gospel truth." Then I looked at what happened in the sugar plantations. And this was amazing. One final set of grim numbers underlines the way slaves on sugar plantations like Codrington, was a plantation in Barbados, were systematically worked to an early death. When slavery ended in the United States, slaves imported over the centuries had grown to a population of nearly 4 million. When it ended in the British West Indies, total slave imports of well over 2 million left a surviving slave population of only about 670,000. More than twice as many slaves were shipped to the island of Jamaica alone than all 13 North American colonies combined. The Caribbean was a slaughterhouse. In fact, the reason why there was more importation of slaves to these plantations is because they died so frequently. They were treated so badly, ate so poorly, that females never reached their menstrual cycles. They never actually started their menstrual cycles, so they couldn't reproduce, you see. And so many of them died, they had to import more. That's how treacherous was, you lazy Black folks that you are. Isn't that ironic, though? What's so ironic is Black people run from the shame of feeling like they're perceived as lazy. I mean, I live with that so much that when I would go to hotels, I would leave it cleaner, because your mother, everybody's mother taught you, leave it cleaner than you found it. So Black folks are so hypersensitive. I was cleaning up the hotel room because I wouldn't want anyone to think I'm dirty, right? Now, other people in the audience that are of color, how much harder did your parents tell you you had to work to get to even? How much harder? You had to work twice as hard. Now, how come I knew that about you? How come I knew that? Think about it. And yet at the same time, white people think we're lazy, you see? But we're so hypersensitive because of the shame, right? And then our ancestors will work to death. To death. Recently, they unearthed a slave cemetery. They unearthed actually a slave cemetery in New York City. It's on Wall Street, by the way, in the shadow of the bull. Unearthed the slave cemetery, and they still to this day they're struggling. They recently, have done a lot in terms of commemoration. I went to it took me everything to get to it. They had it blocked off so you couldn't get to it, but because they didn't want to deal with it. You can't just bulldoze a cemetery. So here in all these skyscrapers in the middle of it is this little cemetery, and there's slaves in that cemetery. More important than that was what the bones told us, because now you got CSI. Hell, I can go in there and tell you what's going on now. So with the CSI thing, now they've discovered a little bit about the bones. And to me, the most phenomenal thing about the bones is what they told us about those people and how they live. Majority of the people in there were children, infants and children, high mortality, infant mortality rate. They even know what they died of. Died of malnutrition and starvation, because they could tell by the rotting of the teeth in the jawline. So even though they most likely grew food, they weren't allowed to eat it. And then they found something even more peculiar that speaks to this idea of why he believed we required less sleep. They would show a large frame man, and they would find an injury where the muscle actually detached itself from the bone as a result of exertion and not injury. Stay with me. It detaches itself from the bone as a result of exertion. That means you work so hard, the muscle detached itself from the bone. You don't see those kind of injuries in contemporary society because no one's going to work that hard. Unless, of course, you have a gun trained on you from sunrise to sunset. So we do have empirical evidence of how hard folks worked. Then he went on to say that we were dumb, cowardly, and incapable of feeling grief. Why would Thomas Jefferson need to believe that? Why would he need to believe we didn't feel grief? What was he doing, do you think, that produced cognitive dissonance? You were killing people. Not only were you killing people, beating them, you were selling them, yes? Selling mothers away from their children and husbands away from wives. And surely they don't feel it, because if they felt it, that would make them human like me. So I simply say, and you see, it's not even so much that he said it, but he was an important person. If Joe, nobody said it, but he said it. So what do you think the rest of the folks, uneducated laborers, believed? Well, they don't feel grief, you know. After all, Thomas Jefferson says they don't. So he becomes a critical person in making those statements. But you see, it was all to relieve and to settle the conscience that he died with. But these become very important as you see how these things move forward. Then there was J. Marion Sims. I won't spend a lot of time with him. He's another figure. You can Google him. There's a statue actually of him in Central Park. And J. Marion Sims was an individual credited. He was a father of modern gynecology. How many women in here know what a vaginal speculum is? And for those men in the room that we lost, a vaginal speculum is a device designed to open up the vagina. It was considered one of the most important advancements in medicine that was made. He was credited as being the wealthiest wealthiest physician to have ever lived. And what's interesting about him, look at the medals pinned on him. I was just very curious about how it was they regarded this man, because no one ever really looked at how did he come up with that vaginal speculum. The way he did it was he actually worked on unanesthetized, did experiments on unanesthetized slave women. He created a makeshift hospital in his backyard in the mid-1800s. He built the first vaginal speculum from a pewter spoon. And he reasoned that slave women were able to bear great pain, meaning we don't need any anesthesia, because their race made them more durable, and thus they were well suited for painful medical experimentation. We didn't even, because we didn't feel like other women could feel. This man would cut into women, cut into them, and just said, well, since they're black, they don't really feel it. Unbelievable. And more importantly is what he did to infants, because not only did he experiment on women, he also experimented on infants. He said that black infants suffered from something he called trimus nascentium, which is now commonly referred to as neonatal tetanus. Neonatal tetanus originates in horse manure, which was a likely cause of the disease in slave infants. He attributed it to the indecency and intellectual flaws of slave infants, together with skull malformations at birth. That is a shoemaker's awl. And that's an 1800s shoemaker's awl. He would stick that into the heads of brand new infants in an effort to realign their skulls based on the indecency and intellectual flaws of their parents, to treat the malady. Of course, it was 100% death rate. But that's what he would stick in the head of a baby at birth. And so these are things that are so horrific that you can't possibly wrap your head around it. And this man is, just Google him. And I think to myself, if I were up here in front of you right now, and this is going to become very important as I move into the other slides. If I stomped a puppy to death up here, just a little puppy, and stomped it right here to death in front of you, most of you would need therapy. And I would be arrested probably faster than killing a black man for killing a puppy. How could you do that? Do you realize how much dissonance you have to remove in order to stick that into the brain of a child? More importantly, the child can no longer be human. Are you understanding what I'm saying? The reason why he could do it is they weren't human. They didn't even feel pain. That's what this man believed. Now, you may look at that and go, those are horrific things from the past. There's a book out right now, not table reading. It's called Medical Apartheid. This is written by Harriet Washington, came out last year. This book chronicles the experimentation on Black people up to contemporary day. See, we want to look at the Tuskegee experiments. We want to look at Sims and go, oh, that just still going on. Implicated, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, because we weren't what? Human. So that dehumanization is something that we really got to appreciate went on for a long time. Can you go back? Back one more. No white could ever rape a slave woman. The regulations of law as to the white race on the subject of sexual intercourse do not and cannot, for obvious reasons, apply to slaves. Their intercourse is promiscuous. We've now justified raping Black women because they can't be raped. We aren't raping them. They're promiscuous by nature. So we can't do it. Forward, one more. The fact that white men could profit from raping their female slaves does not mean that their motive was economic. The rape of slave women by their masters was primarily a weapon of terror that reinforced whites' domination over their human property. Rape was an act of physical violence designed to stifle Black women's will to resist and to remind them of their servile status. These become important instruments that you look at. And I want to give you some statistics as it relates to American history. By the mid-1800s, there was over 600,000 mixed race children born. 600,000. How many of you know what miscegenation is? Miscegenation is an illegal marriage between people of different races. Actually, it was very profound here. That was illegal to marry someone of another race. So when you consider the fact that one of the greatest issues and one of the number one reasons why Black men were lynched, beaten, and imprisoned had to do with the fear that they were going to rape whom? White women. Now the numbers, I mean, we're talking about pure numbers alone. It was who being raped? Okay, it was Black women being raped, but they can be raped. Let's advance forward. Before we get into the Casual Killing Act, the Casual Killing Act was written because of the number of people who were killed while being corrected. Okay. And if any slave resists his master, owner, or other person by his or her order, correcting such slave and shall happen to be killed in such correction, it shall not be counted felony, but the master, owner, and every other person so giving correction shall be acquitted of all punishment and accusation for the same, as if such accident had never happened. So that means that if you happen to be correcting someone and you beat them to death, you know how hard it is to beat someone to death? I mean, I thought about that. I said it happened so frequently that they created a law so that you wouldn't feel any what? No guilt, because you were simply correcting them. Wasn't your fault. So I went back to look at who was beating folks to death. I wanted to know. And it was white women. White women were beating Black children to death. That's who was being beaten to death. But it wasn't her fault. She was just correcting them. You see, what we do is we rob ourselves of our own humanity when we refuse to look at this stuff. We rob ourselves of our humanity. And that's what people didn't know happened. Going forward, one more. Then you had the mental health folks. This is how we got in. We got in to try to fix it. In the early years of the 19th century, Cartwright argued that two particular forms of mental illness caused by nerve disorders were prevalent among slaves. One was drapetomania, which was diagnosable by a single symptom, the uncontrollable urge to escape from slavery. So now what we've done is we've now pathologized your desire to be free. Must be something wrong with them. Keep trying to free themselves. And again, it would be funny if it weren't in journals. You see, all of this is to remove the cognitive dissonance. Now we have, look at all the people joining in. You got Linnaeus, you got anthropology, you got physicians, all of them saying deserve it. It's not us. We don't need to adjust anything. And if they just tried harder, how about you people just pull yourselves up from your bootstraps? What's the matter with you? The playing field has been leveled. Well, we're going to see if, in fact, it's been leveled. Or is that conjecture? Move forward. Now, I want you to look at this photo very closely, and I want you to see who's in it. More important than the man hanging, because you got to understand the lynchings that occurred in America happened after slavery, not during. Thousands of lynchings happened after slavery, because this is a reaction to white fear of what we would do once freed. But we didn't create a vigilante group to take out white people, but they did create a vigilante group to take us out now that we're free. See, that happened after slavery. They were called the what? The Ku Klux Klan. They don't wear hoods anymore, they wear suits. But they're alive and well all over the world, even here. So,
even here,
look at who's in the picture. I want you to look at this little girl in particular. You can't see her closely, but she's actually grimacing, like smirking. Now, remember, let's go back to the puppy concept here. She would be loathed and torn up probably if this was a puppy, which means he's less than that, because she's not disturbed. This little girl is not disturbed by this, but she should be, shouldn't she? People always ask me, they go, Joy, what was the impact on white people? There it is. Right there.
Right there.
Can't feel any empathy for him.
And still.
None, zero zip. There's a little one back here,
y'all
even
just
smaller.
believing the motherfucking lie.
Because whatever she's been
lie.
taught or told, socialized to believe, makes him no longer human. That's the greatest danger to white people, is that they can't feel it. And there's a reason why white people can't feel what we're talking about. My God, what would you then feel?
I'm sorry, y'all. I wanted to stop the video for just a moment. And I wanted to say that, you see how that little girl was looking? How that little girl was looking to see that black man hanging from that tree like that. Like she was looking up at a gift. Or she was waiting to be handed a cake or a pie or a beautiful doll or something. That little girl and them other little bitty kids too was looking at a black man hanging. And what she just saying about the puppy, she would have been all over the floor. Couldn't eat. She ain't slept in days thinking about the puppy. If there had been a puppy. Now, I don't know if y'all know about our sister Mary Turner. When her husband, she was 8 months pregnant, and her husband ended up killed. Something happened when he was in town. And so he was ended up killed by the white folks. So Mary was in the town square, and she was going off. She wanted to know who had murdered her husband, because he was a good man. He wouldn't have been out causing no trouble. He wouldn't have been out harming nobody. Something must have happened. And Mary wanted to know what happened. And she vowed that she would find out what happened to her husband, and she would get justice. 8 months pregnant. Don't you know them white folks hunted that woman down, all hunted when they got wind of what's all that noise? What's that ruckus out there? And they seen it was that black woman out there. Want to know what happened to her husband. Honey, they all came down and out on Mary Turner. She ran. She took out running for her life and the life of her unborn baby, because she was 8 months pregnant. She eluded them, I think, for like 2 days. You know, they knew they could get on her because she was pregnant. She couldn't go too far. They, you know, I guess they would go back to the lodge, to their house and stuff, you know, and eat and do whatever they were doing. But I believe it was her. They found her on a Sunday morning. There's so many. It's so many of our ancestors done relived this whole slaughter. But I think they found her on a Sunday morning. They done got out of church. White folks had went to church, done praised the Lord and all of that. And then they were back on the hunt looking for Mary. Because they had the dogs. They knew she wasn't going too far. It was still somebody that knew which way to go, or some that was still on her tail. When they found Mary, they beat Mary raggedy. Beat that pregnant woman like she was a man. They beat her so bad. When I read the story and stuff, I was wondering and just toe up. Seemed to me like the baby would have just slid on out of her. They beat her so bad. But what they did was they hung her upside down by her ankles, y'all. They hung Mary up after they done beat her, kicking her, spitting on her, pulling her hair, just yowling her face. And she was by herself. Our ancestors went through all of this by themselves. She was hanging up from the tree by her ankles. They still beating on her, yelling at her. She upside down. She screaming. She crying. The baby is upside down. The baby probably just squeezed, because I know her body was probably contracting and just, drawing in on itself. I can't even imagine why we don't know these things that would have it would have changed our whole outlook on things, our whole perception, our entire focus. We wouldn't even be in this position in time that we in now. Because where we at right now, we would not have this self-hate we got on each other if we knew these crucial things that happen to our people. And then you know what them white men did after they did all that to Mary. So while we can imagine what happened to a little puppy, when she said they stomped on the puppy and the motherfuckers cut her stomach because she was upside down and the baby fell out like that. That's how the baby got out. The baby wasn't birthed out. The baby was not born out. The baby was cut out. They didn't even catch the baby. The baby fell on the ground. And they stomped on the baby. That's what they stomped on. So while sister, I know she see the puppy, but I see the baby that they did step on. Hers was what she called an analogy. Hers was an example to show the reaction of the little girl, how she would have been with the puppy as opposed to how she was just to the black man. But that story got me in my mind about Mary and her baby. What they could do, the things they could do to a newborn baby. James Marion Sims, used a shoemaker's tool and put it in the baby newborn head. I don't know, I think in the last video, because we did start this, but I don't think we finished it because I got notes on it. I'm literally following along. And when I get to the part where I stop writing, then I'll continue with my notes. He used that tool. I thought it was like 98% fatal. But she said it was 100%. And of course, see, that was the mind, I guess, trying to find some even a meager hope that somebody could have survived. Some baby could have survived that. But listening to it now this second time, didn't no babies survive that. How could they? How could they? What did he do? Look around a newborn baby's head and decide, where am I going to stick this shoemaker's tool? Am I going to stick it in the back, that little soft spot right there? I'm going to stick it in the soft temple that you see it pulsing because it's a newborn baby. Oh, am I going to stick it through the soft spot? So to me, the things that these people have done, it must be talked about because it was done to us. Yeah, I don't see no way around it. I just don't. And Thomas Jefferson, we didn't need sleep. Just worked black people to death. Worked that man, she said it. Worked that man so hard and consistently and so long. His arm came apart. The muscle just came apart from the bone. And then what? Make him do some more. That arm is fucked up. You hurting. You is in pain. You literally want to just die yourself. And his ass probably gave him something else to do. Probably gave him something else to do. Black America, I can't say it enough. Wait till we get medical apartheid. We doing this. Me and the ancestors doing it. Ain't no friends for Black America. Ain't no friends at all. And then there's a statue in Central Park. This man got a statue. James Marion Sims got a statue in Central Park. The very man that did that, stuck that shoemaker's tool in them black babies' head. Used a potter's spoon, just digging in black women. Just digging in them. No nothing, just he enjoying it. He down there digging in them, probably licking his fingers. They the ones, at the beginning of this video we watching right now, she the one says they addressed the black women as prey. Like, I forgot how she put it, but the prey might as well lay down and open up because to fight back is useless. Then he had the nerve to say, I sinned with a high head. Like he was sinning and he was loving every minute of it. Loving every minute of it. Now you tell me, do we think the devil, Satan under the ground, when we go to hell, when we die, it's gonna be worse? Do you think it's gonna be worse than this? We read last night, the black man refused to even come out of the house. Everybody came out of the house but him, the burning house. He decided and he yelled out that he wasn't coming out. He'd rather stay in that burning house and burn to death. That's hell. That's hell right there. Hell on earth, right here. Right here. And this is Satan. This is your devil. Stop lying to black people. Stop keeping us in the dark. Stop keeping all your hidden secrets. Well, as long as they don't find this out. Because we need to find everything out, Black America. But we got to find it out. Ain't nobody going to tell us. Just like Dr. Joy DeGRUY said, how long? White America, white women, they ought to be telling us, y'all better go get y'all black babies because you know what we used to do to them. For all the love, white women, for all the love, all the transparency. But they the first ones want to CPS, go get the babies, put the babies in foster care. And where's the inspiration, the motivation for everybody to help assist Black America. You know where we've been. You know what we're suffering from. All this time, we ain't had no therapy, no healing, not even a conversation about the depth of our self-hate. We barely, and I mean barely, we barely get the knowledge. We barely get the silver lining of ourselves. I don't know. I don't know what else to tell us. We keep waiting. We keep praying. What else can we do? What else could Black America possibly do? We almost done.
It's tough. So I've got to believe, oh, it's all over now. It's not my fault. I don't benefit. It's not a big deal. Let's move on. It's not all of those things. But we don't say that to Jewish people.
Bet not.
I dare you.
You bet not.
But you have to understand, when you unearth this one, that's what we did to our children. Let's move forward. This is a similar photo to the one that is used in Denzel's movie. Now, and again, most important, this is a man that's being burned. Also, I won't read the depiction, but there are newspaper accounts of this. It's written in a book called 100 Years of Lynching by Ginsburg. No pictures, just newspapers that say not only did they burn him, they decapitated him, cut him into pieces, and used parts of his body as things to put on mantles. So people would say, get me a tongue, would you? Or a liver, a little crisp, so I could put it on the mantle. Now, again, I want you to look at the folks. I want you to look at who's here. We're not talking about the toothless, big gut, hooded wonder, are we? We're looking at plain old, common, dressed up folks. They're squeezing, please, I want my picture taken. Are you following me? This is somebody's cousin, uncle, somebody. And the ability to do that, dehumanize this man and rob them of their humanity all at the same time. All at the same time. That is the most dangerous, treacherous thing that could happen. What did Hitler do? He dehumanized human beings, put babies in ovens. Anything that robs us of our humanity is a danger to everyone. And that is what's going on with people of African descent all over the world, because not only did it get done here, but who did we tell the entire world? We told these people don't deserve any value. Everyone wants to be American, not y'all. But when we go, I mean, I literally go to countries all over the world. America sets the standard, and thank God for what happened later. Let's move forward. So a lot of people start saying, well, y'all got free, right? Y'all are free, everything's fine. Because that's see, whatever you talk about.
Oh, I so apologize, family, but I got to go. Yeah, I know, right? Honey, I didn't even know today was Wednesday. But yes, today is Wednesday. I'm glad somebody called me. But I'll be back later. I don't know if we're going to finish this particular video. We may, because it's almost at the end. It's like 57 minutes. And I have enough notes. We probably did finish it. But we will resume Dr. Joy DeGRUY with part 2, because there is a part 2 to post-traumatic slave syndrome. And I believe it goes more in depth of, you know, this whole hidden agenda. This whole hidden notebook that they got, this big veil that they got over everything. And I think she got more presentations and stuff about the racial violence. That's pretty much what hers is. It's detailing why we need healing, it is really telling us and teaching us what this did to us. It gave us post-traumatic stress disorder, slave disorder, post-traumatic slave disorder. I know I had never heard of it before either. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. That's what white America did to us. That's what we suffer from. Self-hatred got to be the number one symptom. Self-hatred got to be the number one symptom of what was done to us, of the trauma. Centuries of trauma. The trauma got more demonic. I don't know, more ravenous after slavery, after physical enslavement. But we'll finish this. We'll get back to this. This gonna be slow going. We ain't rushing through nothing. Not right here. We ain't rushing through nothing. We got plenty of channels out there. Many of us that's trying to let Black America know we're in a new awakening. And this is our last time to wake up. After this right here, if we don't wake up, those that don't wake up, you might as well stay asleep. Because I promise you, you ain't going to want to see nothing that's going to be going on. You ain't going to want to see nothing that's going to be happening to Black people, Black America. Yeah, And other folks, they ain't going to want to see what's going on with their people either, because everybody finna get some of this oppression. But we know it always falls harder on us. It always falls so much harder on us. That's because we ain't loyal to us. That's because we are not loyal to us as a people. We're not concerned about us as a collective. As long as we get a pillow, put a tough in it. Hey. That's why we're in the shape we're in now. Before I go, I just want to say, know whose side you on. And, it make me wonder, though, do we even envision our babies growing up, having a life, being free? Our babies, I'm not talking about everybody else. Martin already done told us that his dream of the little white girl and the little white girl and the little Black girl holding hands. Well, that's what I got out of it. He already told us that it was a nightmare. He already told us that it was a nightmare. See, our ancestors didn't have a problem when they had to come back and say, oh, I need to make a correction here. He came back and told us when he had told us to love each other and, love everybody. Love your neighbors and stuff. He came back and told us, yeah, I think I made a mistake. You should have just said, get y'all motherfucking ass away from these folks, I lied. I thought that, they were sincere. But, we still got a chance to do it. As long as we here. But if you're going to do it, we better make sure we do it for us. Cosmic energy chose us for a reason. So let's be that reason that we wake up. Sure ain't gonna be for nobody else. Peace and power to the people, our people.